If you're a small business owner, you've probably been here before. You need a website, and you're stuck on that classic question. Should I go with a simple template, or should I invest in a full custom build? Well, in this explainer, we're going to tackle that choice by asking a much smarter question. Okay, let's dive right in. When you start shopping around for a new website, you get hit with this avalanche of options, different prices, all these flashy designs. But what if I told you that the very first question you're asking, template or custom, is actually leading you down the completely wrong path? Most people start out by asking which one is cheaper or which one looks the best. But the smarter question, the one that's actually going to impact your bottom line, is what does my business need this website to do? Just shifting your focus from cost to function, that's the key. It changes everything. And that's because, at the end of the day, this isn't just about picking some colors and fonts you like. It's a fundamental business choice. It directly affects how you get customers, how you grow your business, and how much freedom you have to adapt down the road. This quote from our source material really reframes the whole debate perfectly. Instead of getting hung up on price, it tells us to think about three other massive factors. How much risk are you taking on? How much control are you going to have? And what's the real cost of changing things later on? Trust me, we are definitely going to come back to that last one. It's a biggie. So, with that new framework in our minds, risk, control, and the cost of change, let's take a look at the actual trade-offs you're making when you choose between a template site and a custom one. With a template, or one of those DIY builder sites, you're basically renting a pre-built house. What you get is speed. You can be up and running fast, and a lower upfront cost, which, let's be honest, is always tempting. But what you trade off for that is huge. You lose flexibility in how things are laid out, you have way less power to structure your site for Google, and ultimately, you give up a ton of long-term control. Now, on the flip side, you've got a custom website. This is like hiring an architect to build your house from the ground up, designed exactly for your family. It gives you a much clearer path to turn visitors into customers, a rock-solid foundation for SEO, and a structure that can actually grow with you. The trade-off here? Well, it's a higher upfront cost for sure, and it definitely requires more planning to get it right. Okay, so now you can see the trade-offs, right? But how in the world do you decide what's actually right for your business? Let's walk through a really simple, practical framework to help you figure that out. You know what? It all really boils down to answering two core questions. First, what is the actual job of your website? What must it do? And second, how do your ideal customers behave when they're out there looking for a business just like yours? So let's start with step one. And you got to be really honest with yourself here. Is your website's main job to make the phone ring, to capture email leads for your newsletter, or is it just there to look professional when someone finds your business card? Because if you need a consistent flow of new customers, your website needs to be a lot more than just a pretty online brochure. And that leads perfectly into step two. Our source material gives this great example of local buyers. They're on their phones, they are short on time, they're comparing you against 2 or 3 of your direct competitors right now, and they're looking for any sign of trust and certainty. A generic cookie-cutter template might just not be able to meet those very specific needs. Your site has to make it incredibly easy for your customer to say yes. Now for the really practical part. Based on your answers to those last two questions, let's look at some super clear scenarios to guide your choice. And we're going to uncover a hidden cost that most people totally overlook. Have a look and see where you fit on this slide. A builder site is probably your best bet if you have a really simple offer, you don't really rely on Google to find customers, and you just need to get something online fast. But you should absolutely choose custom if you need a steady stream of inquiries, you want to rank at the top of local search results, and you need complete control over your future growth. Hey, remember that cost of change we talked about earlier? Well, here it is. And honestly, this is the real reason most businesses end up rebuilding their websites a few years down the line. It's not because they suddenly hate the design, it's because the business has evolved, but the website can't evolve with it. They get stuck. So what does stuck actually feel like? Oh, it's that frustrating moment when you can't add a new service page without it looking all messy and weird. Or you can't integrate that new booking tool everyone's using. Or, and this is a big one, you can't even update a simple photo gallery without having to call and pay a developer. This is exactly the kind of trap a company mentioned in our source material fell into. They were basically held hostage because simple updates were too difficult and way too expensive. So as we start to wrap this up, it all comes down to this one simple idea. Are you building a temporary digital brochure, Or are you investing in a long-term business asset? Which means that the question we started this whole thing with, customer template, was never really the right one to begin with, was it? The real choice is this. Do you need a website that simply exists, a placeholder that just ticks a box and confirms your business is real? Or do you need a website that actively works for your business, generating leads, building trust, and growing right alongside you? Answering that question will tell you everything you need to know.